All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We're excited to talk with you tonight about participatory budgeting, also fondly known as PB. We're going to give you all the ins and outs of our PB process here tonight, talk about how you can get involved, and hopefully get you excited about this work that we've been focusing on the last few weeks here in the Office of Equity. And so in terms of the agenda, everyone, I'd love to go around the room here in just a bit, just get a sense of who's here. So we'll do some brief introductions. And then we want to talk to you, just give you an overview of what participatory budgeting is all about. And then we're going to talk a little bit about PB in Marin County in particular, and what's the process that we've outlined for this work. And then we really want to hear from you tonight, everyone. This is all about you. So we're going to open it up for discussions, questions, ideas, reflections based on what we shared. And from there, we'll just wrap it up with some announcements. If you all have things you'd like to share, events you'd like to share with the folks on the Zoom call here tonight, I will open the floor for you to do so. And then we'll wrap it up with next steps. So I'm assuming in this day and age, a lot of us are very familiar with Zoom, but we have a variety of options for you to make yourself most comfortable here tonight. So we are using closed captioning if that's something that you would like to take advantage of. You can mute yourself using the microphone on the toolbar. It'd be great to see you if you wanted to share your video, but no pressure. We know it's the evening. Probably lots of things going on in your backgrounds. But otherwise, make yourselves comfy. We're excited to have you here tonight. And I'd love for us to maybe just go around the Zoom room here. I'm going to stop this share. And if we can just share your name, maybe the community where you live, and what brought you here tonight. So I'm going to pick someone who looks ready to rock. And Suzanne, you look ready. Let's go with you.
Thank you, Jamila. Nice to meet you. I live in Mill Valley, and I'm starting a new job on Monday, but I've been trying to be more involved in my community. I was I had a 6-month break and was involved in various other social justice priorities that are important to me and my family. And I think I received an email about this, and I was excited and hopeful. And frankly, I really just wanted to provide a comment, and I didn't really intend on participating, but I did provide a comment when I RSVP'd, and it was mostly just about how, and I'm a publicist by nature, so for me, it's all about how are you getting the word out so that the right people are in the room. And, I feel like this is a great opportunity, but are the right people in the room to make those decisions? So that was my comment, which was, what is the, how wide of a net it was thrown in order to make sure the right people are in the room to make these exciting decisions.
So. Okay, thank you for that, Suzanne. We're going to cover a lot of that tonight, and we welcome your insights on that as well. I'm going to turn it over to Kristen. Looks ready to go.
Jamila, good to see you. So I'm Kristen Law. I am a new staff person, member of the wellness team at Marin County Office of Education. I live in Richmond, so I am in my living room in Richmond, California. And in my previous job, I was sort of helping to launch a participatory budgeting project, and have just been fascinated by the process and champion it wherever I go, and champion Jamila wherever she goes. So I'm here to be a champion, and also to see how I can help in any way get the word out, like Suzanne was saying, through my network and my connections, and also to see if there's a way to bring some young people into this. I know mental health is a component, and a lot of the work I'm doing is around mental health with our young people. So if I can be a help in any way to get the word out through the student wellness ambassador work I'm doing, I would love to help. So thanks, Jamila. And I'll probably have my video on and off. I'm getting ready for my in-laws to be here for a week, so I have a bit of stuff I'm doing before the arrival tomorrow morning.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you here, Kristen. Thanks for making time. Let me pop it over to Tina Ann. Lost Tina Ann, got nervous. Okay, let's go to Anlor. Anlor, are you with us? No. Okay, let's go to Megan.
Hi everyone.
I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here. I
Oh,
just
hi,
have
Anna.
some, sorry, I have some Zoom issues, so I apologize. I am cooking right now, so that's why my camera is off, because I'm running around. So my name is Anne Laura. I live in San Anselmo. I just started a group with some other parents from my daughter's school district about racial equity. So I'm following Marin County of equity, and I was very interested about what you're doing and how I can help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Let's go to Megan.
thank you. Hi everyone. I'm Megan. I use she, her pronouns, and I live in Fairfax, and I'm new to Marin. I've been here about 8 months. I moved from Los Angeles to be the executive director of Marin Casa. We work with young people who are part of the foster care system here in Marin. So part of it is I've been curious about the Office of Equity and wanted to learn more about what you all are doing and hopefully apply it to my work as well. And two, I've also been involved in some participatory budget processes in LA and would love to see it happen here. So I'm glad to be here in community with all of you.
Great, thanks, Megan. Welcome. Let's go ahead and pass it over to Gary.
Hey everybody, my name is Gary Besser. I am the project manager for the Office of Equity in the CAO's office. I'm new to the role and very excited to listen to the conversation that's going to happen this evening.
Thank you, Gary. Let's go to Manny.
Hi, everybody. I'm Manny Benitez. I'm the Administrative Services Associate with County Marin. Pleasure to meet everybody.
Wonderful. Thanks, Manny. Let's go to Diana, please.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Diana Lopez. I'm the branch manager at Marin City Library. I actually live in Vallejo, but I've been working for the county for about 8.5 years. And I also am originally from Southern California. And so I'm happy to connect with everybody, learn more about what participatory budgeting is, and always wanting to support Jamila. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Diana. And then I'm going to go to my colleague Sophie to round us out.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sophie Martinez. I'm the equity analyst in our Office of Equity. And I think we have one more person, Yareli Cervantes, in the room.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Yareli Cervantes. I live in West Marin, Point Reyes Station to be exact, and I work at West Marin Community Services. This was an invitation brought on to me from the community response team, and I'm very excited to learn what participatory budgeting is and how we can support.
All right, excellent. Well, we have a full house. I think we're expecting a few more folks to join, so we'll welcome them as they come in. But why don't we go ahead and get started, everyone? We're excited to talk with you tonight about this work that we've been focusing on. And so, are you all still seeing the PowerPoint? Yep. Okay, yes. Thank you. I have about 5 different monitors going on at once here. So let's see here. So just quickly, we want to just start with some general participation agreements. We call them brave space agreements. We ask that just one person speaks at a time. We're a small enough group where we'd love to hear from as many of you as we can. I mentioned a moment ago, feel free to share your video if you want, but no pressure if you don't want to. We do ask that you be respectful of one another's opinions here, probably a lot of different viewpoints and interests. And so we just want to create a space where everyone feels safe and brave to share. Take space, make space. Really that means share the air with your colleagues, with your neighbors here tonight. If you feel like you aren't really saying as much as you'd like, go ahead and take some more space up. And if you feel like you're talking a lot and you maybe want to hear from your colleagues or your neighbors a little more, why don't you make some space for them? Using I statements is always good to avoid generalizing. And then feel free to use the chat, everyone. It's a great way for us to get your comments in your own words. So you can use that at any point throughout the conversation here tonight. So with that, everyone, I want to just share a little bit about our Office of Equity. We launched in about 2018, and we've grown since then. And I am the county's new equity director. I've been in the role for about 5 months now. I have a fantastic cast of colleagues who I get to work with every day. One being Sophie Martinez, who you met a moment ago, Manny Benitez, and then we just brought on Gary Besser literally this week. So we'll get Gary's photo up soon enough. But we are the small but mighty group who is helping the office, or excuse me, the county, to advance all of their equity initiatives. So excited to share a little bit about us here as a team. In terms of our mission, everyone, we're focused on establishing the county as an anti-racist and multicultural workforce. We're committed and focused on community engagement, transformational change, and accountability in all that we do. So these are some things that we consider to be our North Star. And when we get up every day, we'd like to just remind ourselves of our purpose in our day-to-day. So what is equity? This is a term that we've seen and heard bandied about quite a bit. A lot of buzzwords, equity washing happening across the country here. And so we find it really important to ground the group early on in what we mean when we say equity. And for us, it's the just and fair inclusion into a society in which everyone can participate, they can prosper, and they can reach their full potential. And so we're really focused on co-creating conditions here in Marin County where everyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, zip code, disability, they can reach their full potential here. And so we take an intersectional approach to this work as opposed to an isolated one. We think it's so important to be holistic as we think about our understanding of equity. But at the same time, we lead with race. We inclusively lead with race because we know race is such an important factor when it comes to our life outcomes in terms of how long we'll live, in terms of where we'll live, how much wealth you'll accrue over your lifetime, the health that you'll experience. And so much is predicated on race and ethnicity. And for that reason, we find it really important to lead with race, but it's not to the exclusion of these other identities. So sexuality, disability, gender, age, all of these are really important components of our identity. But we find that when we lead with race, everyone, we're able to have an even greater impact on some of these other identities. So that's why we take this approach in our day-to-day work. And so speaking of race, some of you may be familiar with the Race Counts report that was released not long ago. And this is a report that was put out by the Advancement Project. And basically they compile statewide data on various racial disparities and inequities. And the latest one was in 2021. And Marin County ranked as the second most racially disparate county in all of California. And this is a modest improvement from when we were ranked #1 just a few years ago. So clearly there's a lot of work to do as we think about how do we advance racial equity and social equity in this county. I think for many of us who were perhaps unaware, the pandemic really exacerbated a lot of the existing racial and social disparities in our county. And it really showed us how vulnerable some of our lower income and our communities of color are. So that vulnerability was amplified by the pandemic. And so a lot of this has caused a greater focus, a greater sense of urgency, and I think a greater sense of enthusiasm to really tackle how can we bridge the gap for our communities that are experiencing some of these disparate outcomes. And that brings us to PB. That brings us to participatory budgeting. So I was really pleased to hear in the introductions how so many of you are familiar, that you have experience with PB from where you're coming from. And so some of this may not be news to some of you, but we're just going to go through some of the nuts and bolts of it so that we're all on the same level playing field here. So what is participatory budgeting, everybody? That's the million-dollar question. And we're defining it as a democratic process in which community members, where they decide how to spend part of a public budget. And what we really appreciate about this approach is that participatory budgeting gives people real power over real money. And that's really it in a nutshell. It's community members deciding how they want to spend part of a public budget. And this is something that's happening across the world. And in fact, the first PB effort was led in Brazil. This was back in 1989. It was the first known PB effort in the world. And then we saw slowly it began to pick up steam in other places. So in the mid 2000s, for example, we saw countries like South Africa, the Dominican Republic, El Salvador, launching PB efforts. And then more recently, it spread to the United States. And now, everyone, it's really, it's here, and people are excited about this across the country. Our neighbors and friends over in Oakland and Vallejo, for example, have been practicing PB for a number of years. I think this is maybe their 7th or 8th year using PB to determine how to spend their limited dollars. We see places like Greensboro, North Carolina, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Chicago, Durham, New York, to name a few. That have taken on PB. We also see this being really popular in community colleges and universities as well, as they try to figure out what's important to our students, what's important to our faculty. So we've been doing research on these different communities and getting a sense of what worked there, what works here, what we're here in Marin, and we've come up with our own approach, building on some of these lessons learned. And so what I want to do now, everyone, is just give you a quick overview of what PB is all about in a video format. So my colleague, Sophie, is going to pull this up in just a moment. And this really walks you through what PB is all about.
Participatory budgeting is basically where constituents get to weigh in on how we spend their tax dollars.
Taking a piece of the city budget and saying to your constituents, you guys get to decide how to spend this part of the money. In many ways, it's like the most direct form of participatory democracy.
Participatory budgeting allows the folks in a community to be more involved in deciding how a city spends part of their budget by actually coming up with ideas for projects that they think will benefit their community, working together to build those ideas into proposals, and then having a big community-wide process where everyone votes on what ideas get implemented. I first heard about participatory budgeting from community activists, and then 4 years later, here we are implementing it in Durham.
We brought participatory budgeting to New York City 8 years ago now, and the last couple of years in New York City, over 100,000 people have voted in PB.
It's been 4 years and we've now gone through the process 3 times, and I think that the experiences that we have with participatory budgeting in St. Louis show that it can really work anywhere. I've used the data that we've gotten from participatory budgeting to guide other funding. So for me, it's a great educational tool to make sure that I really am in touch with the needs of our community.
Not to be crass about it, but it is really good, you know, if you want to do something that your constituents not just like, but also builds their sense that I'm glad I voted for that person because I feel more able to affect change together with my neighbors. That's not an easy thing to do, and PB really delivers that.
Some of the biggest challenges with participatory budgeting is staff capacity and time. The other challenge is money. And so having to overcome some of those barriers in order to just inform people of the process is something that we're still trying to work our way through.
Look, it is a lot of work. I don't want to pretend like it's not. If you already filled up your docket, that is hard. You have to plan to be able to make it a percentage of your staff time and your budget and your own personal time.
So I would say it is a lot of work, but it's not a lot of work for me because we've hired an incredible staff to do our implementation.
The thing about it is, the point of participatory budgeting is really to delegate. It really should not be an elected official-led process. It should be an elected official supported process.
Cities are a place where we can build a more equitable and inclusive and responsive democracy, where everyone really has a voice at the table and is able to make their voice heard and advocate for their needs and their community's needs. Participatory budgeting is a great way to put those ideals into action.
It has really increased engagement in our community. And a lot of folks have said, well, you know, we see that our tax money is actually working for us at a local level. It gives us more faith in the system. And so now we come out and we feel a part of the decisions that are being made that impact us every day.
What we've seen in Durham is people getting more and more involved in local politics. And so giving people an exciting and really meaningful way to be involved in their community through participatory budgeting feels even more important right now, because I think people really need a way to continue to be engaged civically in ways that feel hopeful and empowering to them. And our hope is that if people come out and vote in PB, that is the first step on a long road to lifetime political engagement.
All right, so hopefully that video gave you a little bit more information about what PB is all about, and we're going to share a little bit more here in the next set of slides. So what are our goals for PB? Why are we doing this in Marin County? And as the video mentioned, it's such a great way for people to collectively decide how to spend public money. It's empowering, it's hopeful. And we find that it's a way to really deepen civic engagement and grassroots democracy. And as the woman said in the video, when people are a part of making decisions as to where their tax dollars go, it likely is a lifeline, a spark for even greater and deeper civic engagement. So that's one really big picture goal that we have. We also see it as a way to advance both racial and social equity through the various projects and proposals that we hope will emerge from this work. But ultimately, everyone, I think it's about building stronger communities and making public budgets even more transparent than they already are here in Marin County. And so we have about $2.5 million, everyone, for this process. And these are funds from the ARPA, from American Rescue Plan Act. And these are federal funds that were allocated to Marin County specifically to address COVID relief. And so we wanted to be really creative about how we use this influx of dollars. And so we're focusing in on communities that are most in need. How can we funnel dollars to communities that have been most impacted by social and racial disparities? And so we're using a tool called the Healthy Places Index, HPI is for short. And basically, it's another data set that outlines what are some of the key indicators of health for our communities, and where are some of our communities not faring as well as others. And so we're able to see, using this Healthy Places Index, that there are certain communities in our county that could use some additional support and some additional influx of resources. And from our calculations, that includes Novato, Marin City, areas of San Rafael, and areas of West Marin as well. So those are the communities that we're going to be focusing in on for this PB process. And I want to share now with you a little bit about this PB committee. We're launching a participatory budgeting committee. And I'm going to ask folks, if you aren't speaking, to just go ahead and mute yourself. I'm hearing just a little bit of background. So the PB committee is what I want to share with you now. And this is a group that we're looking for about 9 to 15 residents. And we want them to be diverse in a variety of ways in terms of where they live, where they're coming from in terms of supervisorial districts, in terms of race and ethnicity. So we want to focus in on our communities of color here in the Bay, or in Marin rather. Looking for women, youth and young adults, as well as seniors who are over 60, for example. People who have disabilities or face chronic mental health challenges or other illnesses, folks who are undocumented or underdocumented, and then our LGBTQ plus family members as well. And so I'm going to pass it over, and forgive me, Sophie, I was going to pass these over to you. I got into a role here. Sophie, can you take these, please?
Of course. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, y'all. So as Jamila mentioned, the role of the committee is really to take an inclusive approach to community outreach and make sure that those targeted areas like San Rafael, the Canal, Nevada, West Marin, and Marin City are being incorporated into the PB process, and that those communities are being reached. Additionally, part of the committee's task is also to evaluate the PB projects and the grant proposals that come through and are proposed by community members. And we're really excited that we'll be able to collaborate with this group to also co-design in the way that we do outreach, whether that's in project expos or info sessions or other community events and areas for collaboration. The expectations for the PB committee is to attend all of the sessions. They will be conducted virtually, and for the most part, they will be online. There are 8 sessions, and that meeting attendance is really necessary so that we have a complete, robust process from beginning to end. And it is a role that we're hoping folks can step up to. For compensation, and also just to make sure that folks have access to resources, there is a stipend of $50 per meeting that folks will be able to access when they attend the committee meetings. And we are really hoping that folks that are from the Canal area, San Rafael, Nevada, West Marin, Marin City are part of the committee. We would love folks that are youth or our seniors, people that are disabled, BIPOC, and our residents in Marin County. Anyone with lived experience in those targeted communities and who are multilingual. As you can see, that we would appreciate to have folks that can relate to community members that speak Spanish and Vietnamese and enjoy talking to others and really establishing connections. Folks that have already done this kind of outreach through promotores programs or other community organizations are more than encouraged to apply. The application is still open through the 17th, and you can find our application in 3 different languages on our website, which is Spanish, Vietnamese, and English. And I'm going to pass it along back to Jamila for the timeline of PB.
Thanks so much, Sophie. And I see our colleague Manny is popping things in the chat, everyone. If you want to click on some of those links, we'll also make them available to you as well after the meeting if you'd like. So let's talk a little bit more about the process for PB. So this is a 5-phase process, everyone. I'm going to step you through each and every one of these. The first being brainstorming ideas. And we are excited about this because this will be essentially the launch of our PB effort, where we go out into the community and we ask them this question here. What would you do with $2.5 million to advance racial equity in Marin County? I'm going to leave this hanging up here for a moment. I'm going to ask you again to think about what would you do with $2.5 million to advance racial equity in Marin County? And I want to give you a moment to think about this, folks, because I'm going to stop this share. And I'm curious, what's coming up for you? What's sparking for you when you see that question there? Anybody want to share any ideas that you have about what you might recommend? What ideas are sparking for you? And Megan, I'm looking at you. You look ready to go. Let's hear from you, please.
Yeah, I guess my first thought was there's so many things that need that money. But affordable housing comes to mind. That's an issue that I've been working on a lot, and Marin in particular, and helping folks stay in their homes or have more affordable options would be awesome. So that's what came to mind first, although there's going to be a long list that follows as I think about it more.
That's a great one, affordable housing. We hear so much about the importance and the need of that. I see Diana Lopez has put in the chat here, pre-K through 12th grade education. Diana, could you share a little more about that in the chat for us? What specifically comes to mind for you? Or if you come off beat, that's great too.
Okay, yeah, sure. So I imagine that most folks know about the struggles that the South Sudan Marin City School District has had over the last few years. And then also with the desegregation order, and then the financial issues. So the district could really need some help. But I know that there's a lot of need in particularly in the communities that were mentioned, Novato, Marin City, West Marin. Really, a lot of our kids aren't reading at grade level, so I would love to see some focus on that, getting some support for those kids. And then some of our kids, when they're going to high school, they're a bit behind their peers. So those are the kinds of things that I'm thinking of.
Okay, excellent. Thanks so much for sharing that, Diana. Anybody else want to share what's coming up for you when we ask that question? Suzanne, do you have any thoughts on this one? What would you do with $2.5 million to advance equity?
I think I certainly echo what Megan and Diana have said, but I think also food insecurity is a big one for me. And I did some work with Extra Food, and I think their program is amazing, and maybe expanding on that. I think access to, just access to, speaking on like the youth specifically, just equal access to sports or extracurriculars, or the programs like, coding and things that, offering opportunities that maybe are not always there may be trades versus a formal education, if financially that's untenable, or maybe even through COM, I'm not really sure what is available, like the outreach that COM does for high school students. My son participated in Pathways, which is this remarkable program through the TAM school district. And I think it's a kind of program that only accepts 26 students or 52 students, but it's only open to seniors. But that program is game changer, life changer, in terms of like providing hope for the future, whether it's, they basically, every child does a internship, and they also take classes at COM, but it's so remarkable. It's like an opportunity to really experience what college is like and demystify that, and also how to get an internship, which could lead to a job right when you graduate. So I think education and really a focus on youth is where I feel there's a lot.
Well said, absolutely. And I see some comments in the chat flowing in here, appreciating all the suggestions. And Diana's adding to support for the arts and sports in schools that don't have them. Yareli, I don't know if you're able to chime in here, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this, maybe from a West Marin point of view.
Yeah, definitely. I think what Megan brings up is a really good point, and it's definitely something that we see out here in West Marin, the lack of housing. And when there is housing, there isn't affordable housing. And then definitely not enough services for youth in West Marin. And from what I'm hearing now, I guess the rest of Marin County. And that's where we really want, I think, putting in a focus would be crucial to open more opportunities and really bridge those gaps.
Absolutely. Okay, so a lot of really great ideas. I encourage Kristen and Anwar to pop their comments in the chat. Anwar, I know has to sign off in a moment to tend to her family, but we're going to keep this presentation going. Thank you for these ideas, everyone. This is exactly what we were hoping to hear from you. What's sparking is really fantastic. So let's go ahead and go back here. And I want to just share a little bit more about brainstorming ideas. So this is something that's open to everyone in the county. We really want them to think about what are some of the needs and challenges in their community, and then for them to propose ideas of how to address those needs and challenges. And so we'll be out in community, literally walking the streets, at community events, at libraries and such, to make sure that people can share their ideas with us. We also will be online to capture their ideas. So what you see on the right there, everyone, is what we're calling an ideas wall. And so this is a way for it to function as something of a living memory, a living record of all these different ideas that we hope to collect from the community, so that they're available for everyone to see. And from there, everyone, the next phase in the process is what we call developing proposals. And for this, we are going to be giving out grants of $50,000 to $250,000. So 50K to 250K grants available. And the main thing is that you be an organization that is a 501c3 or that you partner with an organization that's a 501c3. I also really am excited to share that we are providing grant writing assistance to our community members and community organizations. Sometimes developing a proposal might seem a little bit daunting, and as our community-based organizations are stretched to the max dealing with all the issues that they have to deal with, that maybe writing a grant isn't your top priority. And so we want to provide you with some support. Our goal is really to remove barriers to participation, to make this easy and accessible for anyone who wants to participate. That's one of our key goals and guiding principles in this work. And then you all just shared some fantastic examples already. A lot of it dovetails with what we've heard in other conversations. To give you a flavor of some other sample projects that people have mentioned, ideas. We did talk about affordable housing, Megan, that comes up quite a lot. People mentioned financial literacy training. They talked to us about job placement and training being really important. Mentioned cultural arts quite a bit. How can we expand access to the arts for our young people and really for everyone? Mental health is just an ongoing issue that we all grapple with. And so what can we do to support one another in keeping our mental health really strong? And so these are some of the ideas that we've heard from other community members. And in terms of how we'll be evaluating the proposals, everyone, it's going to be based on 3 primary criteria. The first one is need. And so is there a need for this? What need are you feeling with this project? Can you document that need as well? Is there data, either anecdotal or statistical, that you can point to that really makes the case as to why this is important? The other one, everyone, is feasibility. Is this possible? With the money that you are requesting, with the partners that you have at the table, can you do this in the time frame? And so that's something we're going to be looking at is this feasible? And the third one is impact. What's the impact that you're hoping to have on the community? So these are the 3 things that we're going to be focusing in on as we review the proposals. So the next step, everyone, is voting. And I'm sure you all are having questions. I see folks writing some down, so hold those and then we'll be sure to get to those before we wrap here. So voting is the next step. And really anyone can vote who's 14 years of age or older. We also are encouraging people who live, work, own a business, or attend school in Marin County to vote. So these are the people we're hoping to tap in terms of voting on what their priorities are. And we'll be out in community, as I mentioned. A big part of this project is to meet people where they are, for us to go to them. And so that's going to be a big goal of ours. I heard Suzanne say in the top of her comments that a big part of why she came here tonight is so that she can get a sense of if we have the right folks in the room. Do people know about this effort? And so we see all of you as something of our arms in this process to help us spread the word, to reach out and touch, but know that we're doing our best to do that as well. So we'll be out at community centers, at sporting events, libraries, you name it, we'll do our best to be there. We'll also be online, so people can vote not only in person, but online. So we're going to focus our efforts on those target communities of Novato, Marin City, the Canal, and West Marin, and make sure that those communities really know about this effort and know how to vote. So I mentioned to you our outreach approach. We're already out flyering quite a bit. We've been doing some very targeted engagement of our community partners. If you'd like for us to come out and meet with your group, do a meeting and do something similar to what we're doing here tonight to talk about PB, we're happy to do that. Just feel free to invite us and we'll make ourselves available. We're also looking to have a grassroots outreach team that'll include youth. We'll have some interns, volunteers, people from the community really helping us to spread the word about this opportunity. We're also online, everyone. So you've seen our website, you've seen our e-blast, I hope. We're using social media, lots of digital ways that we are engaging on this topic. And so the next step, everyone, is to fund the projects, right? So we wanted to get the money, and so fund the winning proposals. And so we're excited to give this money out. And so we plan to enter into contracts in 2023 with groups, and the money will be dispersed over about 1 to 2 years, okay? And then the last step is to implement the projects, everyone. And this is where I'm most excited, is to see the seed money that we will share with the recipients, to see what they do with it. And so a big part of this work is for them to share with us what's their progress that they're making. We'll be tracking and monitoring that to make sure that they're hitting those outcomes that they talked about in their proposal. Are they working with community for implementation? And we want to be sure that the community is kept in the loop as well. And so this is really exciting for us because we're able to see collectively an idea go from concept into action. And that's our goal here. So community engagement is so important in this process. And just quickly, in terms of our timeline, everyone, we're doing info sessions quite regularly. We appreciate you all being here tonight to be a part of this one. The PB committee that we talked about, the application process is still live. If you know someone or a group of people who would be interested, who would be great candidates, please let them know. Manny's going to pop this in the chat for you as well. I'm sure he has already. But we're going to have the applications open until June 17th, and then we're going to close it out. So we hope that we get some really great applications from people. It is available in English, in Spanish, and Vietnamese, just so you know. And in addition to that, we will be launching the grant proposal application in September. So be on the lookout. If you're a group or if you're a person who says, you know, I really want to tap into this $2.5 million, I've got a great idea, the application will be available for you in September of this year. So we're giving folks plenty of time to start thinking about what ideas do you have? What partners do you need to bring together? If you're not a 501c3, who do you need to tap into to connect with one? So hopefully this gives folks a lot of lead time in order to do their planning. And then community outreach is the name of the game here, as I mentioned. So we'll be out in community. Please do invite us out to things if you feel like it's a great way for us to share about PB, to get input. We're happy to come and spread the word and get people involved. So with that, everyone, I'm going to stop talking. I want to open it up to all of you. We're eager to hear any comments, questions, ideas that are sparking for you.
Welcome, Cliff, by the way.
Hi, Cliff. Welcome. So I know that was a lot of information to consider. Anyone have any questions or ideas or suggestions for us?
Some of the ideas that came in through chat were pre-K through 12th grade education, improved public transportation, and support in the arts and sports for schools that don't have them. Thank you for your contributions.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. And I saw a hand from Suzanne.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I just noticed on my counter the county fair, and I thought, are you having a booth there? I imagine there's that's a wonderful opportunity to reach a lot of people, maybe to have an information booth or something.
Yes, you read our minds there. So we've been working with our PIO team to make sure that we have a space there. But thank you for raising that for us. That's a great way. Maybe in between cotton candy, they'll come over and talk to us about PB.
Another one, I was just wondering the Chamber of Commerce, because I do think it's any BIPOC business owners that are in these counties. I think the chambers could be helpful in making sure to reach business owners that I'm sure will have an opinion.
Yeah, Suzanne, we got to get you on the team here. You're reading our minds. You know, we just met with the chambers. They have a DEI task force, a diversity, equity, and inclusion task force of many of the chambers in the county. And I tell you, they were so excited about PB and what it can do for the community. So, and tapping into the businesses, as you said. So thank you for lifting that up. Any other questions? And again, welcome, Cliff. Good to have you here. Megan, what's coming up for you?
Yeah, I'm interested in spreading the word about the application process to some of our youth. I hope they can get involved. Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to put you on the spot, Megan. You're just one of the only videos that I can see.
Sure. Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, I went through a process in LA with Measure J to do the participatory budgeting. And I think there was a lot of drama around it, I hate to say. But I think one of the biggest things was there was a lot of people like me on the committee, like people who worked for nonprofits and people in positions of leadership and not enough youth voices. That was certainly something that I took away from that experience. So I'm going to do my best to encourage our young people to get involved.
Appreciate that, and appreciate you sharing your insights from the LA process. Youth engagement is going to be really central to how we go about this, and so we're glad to have a lot of youth representatives, youth advocates here tonight. I see Diana's put in the chat that she'd be happy to connect us with other library branch managers and Marin City community partners. Diana, we're going to take you up on that. We'll be reaching out after the meeting.
Great, I look forward to it.
All right, all right. Any other feedback or comments, questions from the group? If not, we'll keep rolling here.
I was just thinking of I have 3 teenagers, but the youngest is graduating high school, and you know, their medium is video and TikTok or YouTube, and at least I know my son is a filmmaker, his girlfriend's a filmmaker, and this is something that interns for the summer, because obviously school's getting out, and it seems like the summer is the pivotal period of time. You know, so how do you capture the youth attention in the summer? But maybe there's interns that have filmmaking skills, unless I could talk one of my kids into it, where, you know, it's really about creating something fun, right? And something engaging that speaks their language, that could also be somehow, you know, there's a lot of clubs at different schools or teachers that run programs, you know, they know who their engaged kids are. So maybe there's a way to connect with the schools. I don't know, because it's like they're, you know, it's about the school year is coming to a close very quickly, but I don't know what the resources are about just trying to pinpoint the right teachers to get to the right kids, you know, the socially active, engaged kids, because they definitely exist in each school. And I think that's like a quick way of reaching youth. Start a starting point or something.
Great idea, great idea. And I want to pick up on what you said about the video piece in particular. And so one thought that we've been discussing internally is, in addition to that proposal, for people to be able to submit a video component that really distills what your project idea is all about. So rather than write 5,000 words, you know, you do a quick video to support your proposal, right? So we're also going to be using videos to do outreach. So instead of the traditional flyer, or in addition to that, we're also going to be sharing videos about how people can connect to this process. But to your other point, Suzanne, around tapping into youth who are already kind of civically minded, we would love to do more of that. We found a couple of avenues. I'm glad Kristen's on the line here today. She's certainly connecting us with folks through the County Office of Ed and other channels, but we're all ears. If folks have suggestions or really direct contacts, that would be most helpful for us. So you don't have to think of everything now, but if you want to follow up after this meeting and let us know who comes to mind for you, we can take it from there. Thanks for those feedback points, Suzanne. All right, well, it looks like I don't think we're in the second quarter of the game yet. So we're gonna go ahead and fast forward to really closing us out. I'm not seeing any other hands or any other comments here. We're gonna get out a little bit early. And so I'm gonna pull my show back up. I'm gonna pass it over to my colleague, Sophie, to take us on home here.
All right, everyone. So before we go over move on to next steps, I was wondering if there are any announcements. Is there anything going on in community that you'd like to share with us or with the folks here in the Zoom room On our Office of Equity website, we have a calendar. We like to post the events that are going around in our local neighborhoods and communities. So if anyone would like to share, and I see that Kristen has her hand up. Yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can unmute myself, and I apologize if there's anything weird happening behind me. So I'm helping to launch a youth wellness ambassador program, and it's predominantly working with BIPOC, LGBTQ, newcomer, English language learner, young people throughout Marin County as youth wellness ambassadors. And we have an event on the 18th, which is a Saturday from 10 to 3. It's for young people only. I'll share a flyer with you, Jamila, and you can get it up there. It's a little last minute, and we already have more RSVPs than we anticipated, which is great. We have 27 young people who've RSVP'd already to help me. And I'm partnering with the Youth Leadership Institute for the event on the 18th to actually design the wellness, the student wellness ambassador program, because it's been a long time since I was a high school student. So I need them with me designing the program, and young people will get $100 Visa gift card for participating, and it's going to be really fun. So I'll share that flyer with you.
Excellent. And I just want to say, Kristen, we did post that in our e-blast that went out today. So hopefully that drums up a little more interest for you. It was in English and Spanish. So take advantage of that, folks. Great opportunity.
Yeah, any announcements, we're more than happy to include them on our e-blast and our website and our calendars. So does anyone else have anything to share? Thank you so much, Kristen. That sounds really exciting.
And Sophie, just quickly, I got a private chat here from someone asking if the recording is going to be available. And absolutely, we'll be posting this a few days after the meeting. We just have to process it a little bit on our end, and then it'll be uploaded to our website. Manny, could you pop that in the chat for the group, please, where they can find it after the meeting? You probably already did that, but.
Yeah, let me post it in chat.
All right, then we'll move on to next steps. So moving forward, what's really critical is to spread the word about the PB committee. Again, it is closing the application on June 17th. And we really want to make sure that youth are involved in this process. And as mentioned, people of all kinds of lived experiences and backgrounds. The application is available in Spanish, Vietnamese, and English on our website. And Manny's already put that in the chat. Thank you, Manny. And secondly, also just start thinking of PB proposal ideas that can impact our communities and advance equity, and which potential partners to brainstorm with. As mentioned, the proposals and the applications will be available in September, so that is coming up. And we just really appreciate you all sharing the ideas that you already came here today with, and we're excited about all of the other ideas that may come along. And please, let's stay connected. It is great to hear that folks are out in community really creating change. We are on the Office of Equity website, which is listed there, www.equity@marincounty.org. And please sign up for updates on our newsletter and share events on our calendar. And we have a list on our website of our partners, and anyone is welcome to be in addition to that. We are excited to partner with you all, and we look forward to hearing from you. I'm going to pass it back along here to Jamila, and thank you, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sophie. And everyone, we just want to say thank you again for carving out time to be with us. We appreciate you taking the time here and really sharing your ideas about PB and how we can make this a really strong, robust, and equity-centered process. With that, everyone, have a great rest of your evening. We'll be talking with you. Be well. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does it automatically close? Oh, wait.
I don't think it does.